Hi guys, it's Millie with Millie's Vines. I am here with another video today, and you guys can see I have some super cool plants next to me. So today I want to show you guys how I am going to add moss poles to both of these plants. This one here is very new. I got this last weekend. This is a philodendron El Chaco Red. Sorry, I thought I saw some pest on it. I want to get this guy on a pole as soon as possible. Ideally, I would let it settle a little bit longer, but I need to get it on a pole. This might be a mistake. I've also never done moss poles before, so we're just gonna learn together today. But we're gonna be potting this one up, and then we also are gonna be making a moss pole for my medium silver. I'll get some close-ups for you guys here in a second. This guy has been growing very slowly, which I expected, but I'm hoping if I get both of these on a moss pole that they can size up and just kind of live their best lives. So as I prefaced before, I've never done this before, so we're going to be learning together. I got these off of Etsy. I'll list the seller in the description, but I've already come in and done one of these just to kind of see the process. I got one of these I forget what they're called. They're like the D-shape moss poles. I've heard good things about them. So far they're super easy to install. So I have one that's done. We're gonna do the second one on camera together. And then the substrate that I'm gonna try for this, based on my research, I've heard that fern fiber is really good, and I've heard that coco coir is good, and then obviously sphagnum moss. So I have a local shop that actually has all three of those combined, which is amazing. So I have a lot of this. We're gonna be putting this in, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Wish me luck, guys. I know some of you guys have already seen this in medium silver. It is so pretty. It's really sunny in here. I have 2 leaves on this guy. There's a lot of growth points underneath as well. So I'm really hoping, I mean, it's already technically on a pole, but I just want to give it a little bit more. So we will see. And then here is my El Chaco Red, which is beautiful. I got this for $35, which is honestly kind of insane. And the back is just stunning. I don't know if the camera's really picking up the red on the screen, but it is gorgeous. I don't see any new growth points yet. I do see some little white speckles on here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but anyway, these are the 2 plants we are going to be working on today. As far as supplies goes, like I said, I have this one that's already set up. We just need to get it potted, add the substrate in. This one we're gonna be doing on camera together. Super easy. So I got I think there's a clear option, but this one's like a frosted option. I'm hoping you can still see the roots through this, but this will be the backing. And then we also have this like wire rack mesh, which is super nice. These are pretty small ones. I didn't want anything too crazy. And then the seller I got this from off Etsy was super nice. She gave me these long ties, zip ties, and then we have some shorter pairs right over here. And then just preference, I'm gonna cut mine down too, so I have some of my bonsai pruning shears. So let's get into it. For some reason, they recommended that you use the shorter ones, the shorter zip ties on the left side. So this is super easy. I'm just coming in and putting this in as tight as possible. And we're just gonna do this all the way down. Okay, so we got all of these on the left side. I personally just moved mine back so it's a little bit more uniform. And then we're gonna come in with these bonsai pruning shears and just cut the remaining edges off, just to clean it up a little bit. Perfect. And now we're gonna do the other side, which is a little bit more difficult. the same thing here. We have all of these loose ends. We're just gonna come in and cut these off. Make sure everything's secure. Clean off our working space some. And now we have 2 moss balls. And I also just ran and grabbed, I don't know what I'm gonna want to adhere the plant to start, so I have a couple different things of twine, and then if I don't want to use that, I also have some plant Velcro, so we will see what we do with that. I'm not gonna lie, now I'm getting nervous. These plants are really new to me, and they're a little bit more, what's the word, like specialty, and that's something that I haven't dabbled in as much, so I'm a little intimidated to do this right now, but it's gonna be okay. So here is our beautiful El Chaco red. Hope you guys can see this. 2 stunning leaves on here. I'm dumping leca all over the place, but the root system, it's probably gonna be really hard for me to show you guys on camera, but it's actually pretty good. I can see in the bottom, they're kind of wrapping around. By no means does it need to be repotted right now, but kind of like I mentioned, I just want to get it on a pole. I want it to thrive, so we're just going to do it. We're going to bite the bullet and we're going to do it. My understanding here is that I'm supposed to fill this with substrate first, and then we adhere the plant to it, and then we put it into the pot. So that's what we're going to be doing theoretically. So we're going to take our substrate. I'm actually not sure how to do this. As I'm sitting here thinking about it though, I don't know how I get substrate into this without it all dumping out. So I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. Okay guys, we are back. I had to think about that off screen. So what I'm gonna do, since I'm doing that by myself, I had like an epiphany. If I like put dirt in this vertically, obviously it's just gonna fall out the bottom. So what I've done, it's not cute, but I used saran wrap at the top and then I velcroed it around. So my idea is now I'm gonna put the substrate in, it's not gonna fall out, and my life is gonna be made easier. Also, I don't know if you guys are into these. I'm currently drinking this. This is the Coca-Cola Elixir from Alive. I think you can get them at Sprouts. It is so good, and it honestly does taste like Coca-Cola. But let's get into it. I'm nervous, so I feel like I'm trying to delay, but we just gotta do it. I probably should set something up on this table so it doesn't get incredibly dirty, but I really don't feel like it. This is already not as satisfying as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. It's a little bit hard to do by yourself. So we've got a bunch of sphagnum in here that I can see. I think this also has charcoal in it, like just some super fine pieces. And then, as I mentioned before, the tree bark and the cocoa core. So I don't want to stuff it too much. I feel like I still want some good aeration in here. So I'm getting close to the bottom. I'm excited. I really hope this works. Okay, so we're just packing it in a little bit more because I can tell the base of this doesn't have too much in it, but it's starting to look good. About the bottom too much. I just vacuumed like 2 days ago, so that's a little bit disappointing. But there we go. I got the first one in. I'm probably gonna refill the top just a little bit in a second, but we'll do that a little bit later. So I'm just personally using a old nursery pot for this. I think I'm supposed to adhere the plant to this first. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna transfer the old soil medium in here. I really don't want to repot either one of these, but they just need poles and I know it, so I might as well go ahead and bite the bullet. This has a really good root system. I hope you guys can see that. It's slightly wrapping around the bottom, which is good to see. And with the alpaca red, you'll notice some of the roots actually are red. I really hope you guys can see that. But pretty good roots. Nowhere near needing to be repotted. Like I said, we're just gonna do it anyway. Since this doesn't, I don't want to disturb the roots too much, so I'm personally not going to mess with them or move them around too much. I just want to leave it as is and not freak it out. Because I think these actually came from California from the supplier I got it from. So they've already been through a lot. Okay guys, it's happening. Now I'm going to, add this in. It actually fits kind of well. Let's move you guys up a little bit. Okay. So now I've got it placed. I'm just gonna move it around some so it kind of condenses in better. I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna take this little invention off. What do we think about that? It's pretty good. I think this has like some algae growing on it, like sphagnum moss or something. We're just gonna leave that in. Okay, so now we're gonna start backfilling. Actually, I'm gonna adhere it to this first. And to be honest, I haven't seen any aerial roots on this quite yet. So for now, I'm just going to try to take it at the base of the plant and kind of just not put it on too tight, but enough to make sure that it knows that it has a whole new backing of substrate that it can grow into. Okay, so we've got it adhered there. And now we're just gonna backfill. So to backfill, I'm actually gonna use this is houseplant soil, so it has a little bit more aeration, more bark, perlite, stuff like that. So I don't want it to retain too much moisture, but I think the pole itself will be fine with the other substrate. So this part's easy. We're just gonna come in and we're gonna backfill. And something I've learned when it comes to repotting is don't pack it in too tight. I used to always do that when I first started repotting plants, and it doesn't allow the water to pass through as easily, and then there's just not as much oxygen and aeration that can get through when it's tight packed like that. What I like to do instead of like packing it in is just kind of shake the plant pot. Tapping it helps. And then also make sure to get the back behind the hole as well. It seems pretty stable, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Ideally, I would have a little bit more room, like it wouldn't be planted this high with the substrate, but that's okay. I'm just gonna massage it in a little bit. that should be good. So we're gonna consider this one done, and then we will water these after I get the Amidrium finished. Okay, so we got the El Chaco Red done. I also top filled or filled the top of this because it was lacking some substrate. So that one is good to go. We'll water it in a second. Now we're going to do the Amidrium. This plant, so much of me doesn't want to repot, but since it's already such a slow grower, I feel like I have to. So that is what we are going to do. And I technically just repotted this one, but it is time for the Amidrium. This one I'm nervous for because I feel like this is, I don't want to say a finicky plant, but it just is such a slow grower that I feel like every time I repot it, it's just going to delay it a little bit. But I also feel like if I get this on a actual moss pole instead of just what it's on right now, I hope that it has bigger leaves and it just helps it at least root a little bit more. So we're just gonna bite the bullet and we're gonna do this. I got this plant about 3 weeks ago, so technically speaking, this is not a great idea for me to do already, but that's okay. Same thing as last time, I used plastic wrap on the top to make my life easier, and then I did the Velcro little attachment to hold it in. I'm gonna come in with the substrate. I'm gonna try to make less of a mess for you guys this time. I didn't know that I was going to end up being like a moss pole girly. We'll see. We'll see if this makes a big difference. I probably don't like the aesthetic of it too much, but we'll see. As much as I love things to look nice and like cohesive, I also love for plants to thrive and size up, so you just gotta find what works for you. And I won't do this with all my plants. The other one I'm considering doing it with might be my Philodendron Histatum, the silver sword. And then one day, I'll probably wait until I have like an actual home so I have a little bit more space, but one day I would love to get a Cebu Blue on one of these moss poles because the fenestrations on those, the plant is just spectacular, so that's a goal for me one day. We got this one filled up. Don't pack it in too tight, but pack it in enough. And now we're going to take this guy out of its pot. And this is all recently like new soil. It looks pretty good, so I'm gonna reuse most of this. I'm probably gonna reuse this Velcro tape as well. This is an okay pole, but it just can't really actually root into it, so I appreciate it. But it's just not quite enough. The root system on this guy is not as impressive as the El Chaco Red, but that's okay. I'm really glad my boyfriend is not here right now because he would be like, what in the actual heck are you doing? Okay, here we go. I'm so sorry to be repotting you again. Yeah, the root system on this is not that impressive. But that's okay. That's what we're working with. So, do as I say, not as I do. And part of the roots just fell off. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We're just gonna keep going. So, moss pole, we're gonna lay this guy down. Moss pole's going in. Now all my substrates have fallen out. Since that guy does not have many roots at all, I'm just gonna start filling in the base already. I just wanna make sure, because when I got this guy, it seemed like it had gnats in the soil. But all of these I recently got, it's not the diatomaceous earth, I'm not sure. I know Harley G loves that stuff. I got something else from a local plant shop, and it's basically something you can add into the water as you're watering, and you can do it monthly. It's supposed to be like a pesticide systemic, I believe. So I'm gonna do that on both of these when I water them after, and then I'll just kind of keep an eye on these. They've been separated pretty well from the rest of my collection, so I'm just out here hoping for the best, and I'm also out here repotting, and it's technically winter, so again, do as I say, not as I do. So we've got the base here, which you guys cannot see, and now we're going to add this guy in. I think this is already a runner. I can't decide if I want to chop this guy. I'm not totally sure what's happening here. There's a lot of, like, technically speaking, growth points that might turn into new leaves, but for right now, I'm just gonna leave it. But this guy, it's probably a little bit more important that I pay attention to how I adhere it to the pole. I'm kind of like moving around the roots as well. I think that's pretty good. So with this one, I want to try to make sure that the roots are in a little bit deeper so I have more room to water it without the soil overflowing. And now instead of using the substrate I'm using for the moss pole, I'm switching to my aeroid house mix, just because it doesn't retain as much moisture. And then we're backfilling. And I realized that I did not reuse my soil from last time. I'm excited to be starting this new moss pole journey. If you guys have recommendations, if you have other substrate recommendations, or even like a different type of pole, I would love to know, because this is probably something that I'm going to spend a lot of time on and definitely want to learn on. So any advice would be much appreciated. I feel good about this. I feel like this Amidrium might retaliate on me just for a little bit, but I don't really think I'll notice because this plant has not grown a single leaf since I got it, but that's okay because she's a 2-leaf stunner, so. Shake around the pot, let it kind of fall how it wants to. And that's probably good. Soil-wise, don't forget the back too, because that really helps stabilize the plant. I feel like that's pretty good. I probably could have gotten away potting this into something smaller, but I don't really have another smaller nursery pot, so now I'm taking all of these guys and I'm going to tie it around this pole. The Velcro tape I'll eventually be able to take off once we get some aerial roots that root into this pole, but for now I just want to give it like a big hug to make sure it's nice and secure. But that is the Amidrium Silver, and she is now potted up at the moss pole. Okay, I'm so excited. Now we're going to take off this little thing in the jig. If you guys have this plant Velcro, reuse it. I reuse these multiple times and it works great for me. Now adding in the substrate. To the top, and I'm pressing it in just a little bit just to make sure we have enough. And that is all done. Now we're gonna get them watered. So here's what we're working with. We got the Amidrium. It looks good. I'm pretty impressed. And then the El Chaco Red. I definitely don't like the green Velcro tape on it, but like I said, that's just temporary. And now we are going to get them watered. So here is the stuff that I was talking about. I got this from a local plant shop. I'm not totally sure what they said it was, but it's basically a pesticide, systemic. So that's the first thing I want to do with these plants since they are a little bit new. I don't technically know how much to use, but I typically just do like a little dash of this. It looks like milk. It's very interesting. Just a little bit of that. And then I'm using filtered water. Perfect. It's watering time. I'm going to water the bottom part of the pot with the pesticide mix, and then I would use my shower, but I'm honestly a little bit nervous. I don't want to like oversaturate it today since this is my first time. So I'm just going to use plain water and a like automatic sprayer, which makes it super easy, and I'll just saturate the poles like that. So I'm just trying to be conservative since I honestly don't know what I'm doing. Ooh. I'm just going to water these all the way through. Probably good. And then I'm gonna just really get this nice and saturated as much as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect today. I just want it to be a little misty so the plant can start to kind of feel out the situation. It's probably good for now. Since I live essentially in a desert, the poles are probably going to be a little bit high maintenance, but that's okay. And then same thing with this. So I do have probably a little bit too much dirt in here, but that's okay. Watering the base with our systemic. Making sure to get water around the whole pole. That's probably good too. This plant is so gorgeous. I love the varicosums, but I've heard that they might be a little bit more pest prone as opposed to the Alchaca Red. And this gives a similar effect, I would say. And I couldn't pass up. I mean, to me, $40 for this plant is honestly insane. So I think we are good, guys. Moss pole is nice and damp now. And yeah. I'm gonna do a quick wipe down too, just with some neem oil. I feel like I've seen some like white little specks on here, but we are pretty much good. We are back. It is the following day, and I just wanted to show you guys where I ended up placing these plants. We've got the Alchaca Red here in the back. So far, it seems to be doing pretty good. It doesn't seem to be too freaked out or shocked by the repot, and the Amedrium actually is feeling nice and stiff. It's feeling good as well, so I'm super happy with that. I will keep you guys up to date once I start to see hopefully some aerial roots come in. Cross your fingers, guys. I am a little bit nervous about this, but I didn't get anything like too wet. The back of the moss pole is just slightly damp, so I didn't go too crazy with it, and I'm just going to keep an eye out for the next couple weeks. Thank you guys so much for joining, and until next time.